What is up, y'all? We are here to explore the most efficient way to overcome the gauntlet, and more importantly, the corrupt gauntlet. So, when it comes to being an Ironman or simply just looking for some good money making, the gauntlet is a staple. So, to start things off, let's talk about your requirements. Before you go any further, the first and foremost thing that you will need is the completion of the Song of the Elves. This has its own host of stat requirements in order to get that done. So if you haven't gotten there, go ahead, finish that up, and then come back to this video later. Otherwise, you're just going to forget everything. So for the normal gauntlet, you will want at least base 80 combat stats, and you should be just fine. But when moving up to the corrupt gauntlet, I strongly encourage base 90s for just sanity's sake, especially while you're learning. You will also want to make sure you have Deadeye and Mystic Vigor unlocked from your friends over at the Royal Titans. These are super easy prayer scrolls to obtain for any low-level players and Ironman. Unlike what most people say, piety really isn't necessary to go out of your way for a grind here, but you definitely want to try and get those prayer scrolls. It will definitely help along the grind. Now, the beauty of the gauntlet is you don't have to bring anything except for yourself to this game mode, but that's just where the fun begins. In a normal gauntlet, you get 10 minutes of prep, and in a corrupt, it drops down to 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So, I'd encourage you to run at least 20 to 30 normals just to get the room flow down before learning corrupt. I'll show you here my skill set here. I'm running with 99 strength, 92 attack, 86 defense. I was doing this long before I got any of those stats up to 99. It's totally possible. But again, the real big ones that you're going to want to focus on is going to be your range, your mage, and I'd even say your prayer. So not having base 80s in prayer really doesn't bother me none. So don't worry too much about that as long as you can do your correct protection prayers. But range and mage is where you are going to be learning to do your most damage. So let's prioritize getting those things up, or at least having them up before you start. So when learning, we're going to be going for T2 armor. It is a doable raid, if you will, with T1, but I find that level 2 leaves a lot of room for any kind of mistakes you make. And then by the time you get comfortable here, you can run through T2 and only need like 6 to 10 pieces of food. But for now, we're going to start with a full inventory of fish. When we start off here, we're going to be making a giant oval. First thing I do is always situate my camera so that way the Hunllef is to the south, and then either choose left or right to start. Personally for me, I find whichever side the singing bowl is on and I start from there. Your goal is to collect 6 of each resource and then follow the pathing you see on the screen here. As you collect 6 of one type, go ahead and drop the axe or pickaxe just to clear up space. It's really easy to do and it'll become second nature. Ignore all the fishing spots and herbs on the first run. It's not worth filling up your inventory yet. And then when you get to the end walls, check the rooms for bosses, but don't fight them yet. You'll have time to come back if you need be. Now, while you are searching each room, you will also run across different monsters. We want to smack the spiders and bats to collect crystal shards and other goodies that come with it, but ignore the wolves, scorpions, and unicorns while you're doing the first run. These things are just going to have way too high of levels if you're just going to be using melee on these things. So, my one caveat is this. If the first room you open is 3 mini monsters, then you will kill them and immediately turn back to the singing bowl to make your mage's staff and attune it if you also had collected 80 shards. Whenever there's a room with 3 mini monsters, you are always going to get one of your weapon frames. So that's the only time I'm going back to do that. The timing doesn't really push off anything. Now, it doesn't happen often, but if it doesn't, you may fight the larger monsters as well as the demi-bosses on the edge once you have this staff. And then for learning's sake, we're going to ignore the bears. Melee is just a hassle, and it's not fun with the final boss. So skip your bears. You're looking for your dark beast, and you're looking for your dragons here. Once we've made our way around the room and collected the resources we need, we will prioritize the attuned magic staff if you haven't already gotten it first, and then we're going to focus on making each armor set until we run out of shards. It's common to still have resources left over because you run out of shards, but we will be back to finish them off. Now, This is where we want to run back to where we saw the dragon and the range beast closest together and fight each of them with the armor and weapon that we have acquired. Make sure you're praying the correct prayers and using offensive style prayers as well. We want to kill them in a timely manner, and they can hit like a truck, wasting all your food if you're not protected correctly. Neither of them will melee use, so you can stand as close as you want to them. Now collect whatever other shards you need from any monsters around and fishing until you have a full inventory. This is when I use my teleport seed to get back to the middle. Move your armor up to T2 now. Buy 2 vials and then go back to fishing and collecting your 2 herbs. If you have enough shards, go ahead and buy another teleport seed if you didn't get one as a drop. Before the boss fight, you want to make sure you have started cooking your fish with at least 20 seconds left on the clock. Make sure your herbs are dropped into the vials of water and you have used the pestle on the shards to get the dust that drop that into the herb mix. Now, keeping your supplies in the same place every time is extremely important for your success. Our goal is to build muscle memory for when things go wild. I keep my potions in the first 2 spots, and then I keep my second perfected weapon in column 1, row 3. That's 2 down from the first vial. This puts it closer to my prayer swaps and close to the boss so that I can click back on him after I've swapped. At this point, I'm going to drop everything else on the ground except for my pots, my fish, and my extra weapon. You want to try your best to always get a perfected staff and a perfected bow. At the very least, make sure they're attuned. So now is the time for the boss fight. Hopefully you have at least 5 seconds to walk in or be ready to be teleported in. As you get more accustomed to the layouts, you'll find more and more time. The very first thing you want to do is pray ranged. He's always going to attack with range first. Then you will start attacking with either range or mage, whichever he's not praying against, and use the correct offensive prayer for that style. Next, you'll want to see him do his little shake. This is him notifying you that he is changing attack styles. Immediately change to mage from here. And again, if you don't prioritize defense prayers, you will be smacked hard. I'm always watching how he moves and worrying about the other stuff secondly, just to minimize how much damage I take off prayer. I always camp my prayer tabs for this reason, and I use hotkeys to switch back and forth to my inventory for when I need it. Keep an eye on his overhead prayers as well for when he changes his defense. At this point, you'll want to flip to your inventory tab and then switch prayers and switch weapons. Typically, while I'm here, I'll take this time to eat a quick fish and drink a pot if I'm low, but otherwise I'll just save those for when I'm running from his special attack. As long as you don't walk under the Hunllef, you will never have to worry about his melee attacks. This makes the Hunllef super easy. Now that you know the basics, let's add the fun parts that trip everyone up. The Hunllef has 3 special attacks that make you work for that juicy loot. The first thing is the lava on the floor, if you will. You will see shaded squares pop up on the floor, and after a few seconds they will change shades to a darker color. There's plenty of time for you to move off of a shaded tile before it starts damaging you, but if you don't move, the damage is rapid fire and it will end the round quickly. The only real suggestion I have here is just to be ready to move, and towards the end there are some safer tiles to stand on, but they really aren't foolproof. The second special attack is you're going to deal with the tornado phase. Every so often the Hunllef will rear back and cause tornadoes to start chasing you down. The further into the Hunllef's life you get, the more tornadoes he's going to spawn. At this point, don't worry about attacking. We are totally on defense while we are learning here. The Hunllef will continue to attack, and it will switch attack styles once during your tornado phase, and he will also continue to light the floor on fire. So, your goal is to stay away from the tornadoes by at least 2 tiles if you can help it. Pray the right defense, and stay out of the lava. Pretty easy. To make it more fun, this is also the time that I would make sure you eat to full without wasting fish, as well as make sure your prayer is topped off. Then rinse and repeat. The other special attack that he has is during his magic phase, he will shoot a purple ball at you. This will turn off all your prayers. This is why I strongly suggest camping prayers. It's easy to overcome. You just have to make sure you flick them back on real quick. For the last quarter of the fight, there will be more squares on fire, so it won't just be a click across the room, but will require you to be more intentional with your clicks and clicking more often. If you get backed into a corner or you can tile skip to run through the tornado, you can try that. But just make sure that you get those tornadoes with the true tile mark so you can see where they are. You can also take a little damage here and just re-heal while you're learning. This is why we run the T2 and we pack our inventory full of food. So a quick thing that I want to mention while I'm doing this, when we are setting ourselves up here at the beginning, the one thing that we want to make sure that we are doing is, in order to prep for the T2 stage, collecting the right resources is really important. And I should have led with this early on. But what you're going to do is each one of these nodes here are going to have 3 different resources in them. So when I say different, I just mean 3 individual ores. So as you run through all these, you're going to make sure that you mine 2 of each of them and then 1 random. So I'll show you here in the tree room. We're going to come up here. We're going to chop down all 3 of these in here, but not to the full in the 3rd one. So we'll take 3 from there. We're going to take 3 from this tree right here. And then what we will do actually is only take 1 from this final tree down here. And then after that, that's typically when I will go ahead and jump the gun and drop that axe there. So that way I know, hey, we are officially all done with trees. We don't have to come back to that anymore. And now we carry on our merry little way, looking for mining ores and looking for more of the wool. So that's going to be the easiest way that you're going to get around being able to actually, constantly be dropping things. So you don't have a ton to drop at the very end. It makes the process a lot easier in the long run. You can also set up these up here by having the gauntlet tracker going on, and you can tell it exactly what you want to be tracking in that process. It's going to make that a lot easier too if that helps you out from getting lost. But yeah, something to make sure you keep in your back pocket. Now, before we get to your full run through here, which I'll show you guys on a normal mode, I have just a few tips for you. When fighting the monsters during collection, try to drag them together while attacking and don't just pick up loot till they're all dead in the room. There's a drop delay on them and it's just going to waste time. Also, I strongly encourage you to protect from melee here so you don't have to eat food before the boss. The second tip, always grab 2 of the pots. You don't need any more than that, and you don't want to risk less than that while you're learning. Then you can get the 3rd tip, which is to again try and save eating in the boss for the tornado phase so you aren't wasting ticks on food. Instead, you can focus on maximizing your damage. Of course, unless you get low, I would try to always keep your health above half. And then when you do eat, try to keep your health as full as possible. So that way when you do make an error and the damage starts comboing out, you can still survive and get back into it instead of having to start prep phase all over. The 4th thing is when you are prepping and you notice there's not enough of a resource or fish, it's okay to just reset the room instead of wasting further time. But in the beginning, it may as well be a good idea just to go ahead and fight the boss anyways, just to get a feel for his attack transitions. But as you start getting better at the actual attacking phase, you will notice there's going to be times where you're going to run into these randomized rooms and you're not going to have any ores or any fish or just not enough monsters that are going to drop crystal shards. So you're just spinning your wheels. Might as well back out, try it again. So if y'all end up having any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and then I'll get back to you there. If you want more run throughs, check out my Ironman series. See how things normally are set up with me, and just, it's all about learning. It's all about progress. The more you do it, the better you get. This is a fun place to be. As much as people call it the Red Prison, I actually enjoy coming here. You can't do a ton of them all the time, but it's a great boss. It's a great money maker. You're going to get rich here, and you're going to get some of the best items you can get in this game, especially as an Ironman. Now, the loot is everybody's favorite part, and this is what we've been leading up to here. So I'll throw a few of these things on the screen here. I'm going to post up what's in the normal gauntlet because that's where we're going to start out with training here, and then we're just going to build up from there. But you're going to get a lot of adamant alchables, so you're going to make your money there. What you're looking at is, on average, your loot table here is going to be worth about 2K if you lose. You'll make even more if you start winning. So it goes from 2K to losing, not great, but hey, whatever, we're trying to learn here, right? To making a maximum of about 79, 80K, maybe 67 to 68 if you're high alking this stuff. And then once you start getting the crystal shards and all the uniques, it immediately jumps up to like $302,000 a run. So once you start winning, that's when you're going to see crystal shards every time. You're going to need those for later on. You're going to see all your rune alchables there, which are going to be ranging. That's where you're starting to get your 70K or so of just alchables. Dragon halibards can be drawn in there as well. You're going to get several assortments of runes ranging from like your cosmics, natures. You can see them all up on the board here. Dragon arrows. This is an excellent source for dragon arrows. So when you finally get down the line and need them, you got rune and dragon. You'll never have to worry about those ever again. Tons of gems, lots of coins. And then the real reason you're here is one, this is a great way to get clue scrolls that are elite. Love those part of it. Your crystal weapon seed is going to be 1 in 120. That's a 340,000 drop. That's the crappy one. You don't care about that one unless you're just trying to get another shield or whatever, but really you're going to break those down to get more shards, right? Then you have your crystal armor seed. This is the one that we need a plethora of, so that way we can make the full crystal armor as Ironman. This is where we're stuck here all the time. That is a 1 in 120 drop. When you go to Corrupt Gauntlet, that drops down to 1 in 50. So that's about a 7 million drop right there. But you're looking about 1 in 120 in the basic level and then down to 150. Then you go for your enhanced crystal weapon seed. That's what you're going for with the salad blade as well as with the Bofa. And let's be honest, the Bofa is why we're all here. If you do Corrupt Gauntlet, that's going to drop to 1 in 400. So heck of a lot better odds when you do the Corrupt Gauntlet. It's just a lot harder. You're going to get more tornadoes. You're going to get more damage on average and more chip damage. So keep that stuff in mind. Like I said, you know, on average, you're going to go from 70K, if you will, from the regular Gauntlet up to an average of 180K in Corrupt Gauntlet. Big difference, but start with normal and then work your way up. I did about 25 to 30 normal just to get the rhythm, and then I jumped straight into Corrupt Gauntlet after that. It's pretty easy. With all that being said, if you guys stay tuned, this next part here, we are actually going to run through the boss fight. We're going to skip the prep phase. Hopefully you get the idea of that, but we're just going to do a quick run through of the boss fight with some live commentations. Alrighty, so we are going to do a live run through now. So as you can see up here in the top, I have got plenty of time left. 2 minutes, 15 seconds and counting down here. So, and that is all while being done, while going in here and making some far out routes, just because I wanted to show you guys with 2 perfected weapons. You're never going to come way up here. Remember, you're always going to stick to this little oval right here, and then every now and then peek over there, peek over there. I literally ran all the way out here, and that was the location where I could finally get my bow. If that's the case, stick with the tuned. I just want to give you guys kind of that up close idea of what can happen with 2 perfected weapons there. Don't have a full inventory of food, don't need it, not too worried. So what we're going to do here with all of our extra time, we are going to come up to the side. You can see he is praying melee right there right now. So we are going to go ahead, flip over here. First thing we do is pray ranged, and we're going to attack with melee. So let's slap that on, and then we're going to throw this here, and then we're going to start attacking. So we're going to keep this, always keep an eye on him, because in a second here, he's going to do his little shake, if you will. There it is. So now we immediately switch over there, and then you can see he changes his prayer style, and we're going to immediately switch to range, and switch to our other offensive styles there. So on normal, the first time he does this, he is going to send out just one little tornado here. I like to pop a couple attacks here in between each time. Switching. Oops, see, there's the lava. Oh, we're not switching yet. There's what I get for it. Now we switch. Alright, so here we go. Now we're switching everything over here. Plenty of time to reset. Right there, you just saw his little turn off all your magics and everything like that. On normal, it's literally just a lighter shade of blue. That's how I do that little combo there, so we can get back up. But yeah, that's the one thing to watch out on Corrupt. It's going to be a purple. It's a whole lot easier to see on Corrupt, but that's all you need to worry about. There you can see that's how we kind of run it. So we just have all of our food time, so that way we can kind of maximize what we're working with here. Plenty of time. Oh, we switched to range there. That's what happens when you're talking while trying to do this. But again, T2 armor leaves you plenty of room for mistakes here. So switch, then switch that, then switch that, and back to hitting. So we are getting lower now. We're going to step off. So now we're on the point where he's going to do his little tornadoes. I love this little around the room stuff here. Switch in there. Keep eating our food. Just keep running around and we'll fill up here. Come up here real quick. And now we go back to attacking. He switches. We switch. He switches. We switch. All right. But yeah, this is why T2 armor is so important. Because you guys can see here, even when I'm misclicking, doing random things here, it is super easy to bounce back. I didn't have a full inventory of food. We're really not going to need that much food here. And again, my stats aren't maxed. I was doing this when I had 80s for my range and magic attacks. I have gotten up most of my levels just doing Corrupt Gauntlet, to be honest with you. So super, super easy. Again, these rooms right here, my favorite, because you can just kind of run around the side there. We're switching to that. We'll eat a little bit here just to show. We always want to try to keep that as full as we can. Switch to that, and we're going to finish him off here in just a second. All right, and that does the trick right there. Super easy. Still plenty of food left. Didn't even go through another potion, but now we'll run up here. You can see I already had 1 KC. So let's take a look and see what kind of loot we get here. I was really hoping that was going to be a shield, sword, armor piece. There you go. So 93 law runes, 146 death, and 5 crystal shards. So really, you're not going to get a bunch when you're doing the normal mode, but it is worth it to learn it and then go from there. You guys got this. Thanks for watching to the end, and man, go ahead and drop a sub if you guys like this, and let me know what other questions you have. I've got a bunch of different things that I do in the Gauntlet that I didn't show you guys as far as plugins on RuneLite, but great way to make money, great way to set your Ironman up for success in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.